Get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you can see they are now panicking like we've never seen before. Actually, I do believe fear is setting in right now because think about what Trump and Elon have done at this point. They have gone into the criminal syndicate system and they exposed how the system works. Now, a lot of people might not understand how the system works, but what are they hearing? They're hearing there's a lot of different programs out there. A lot of money is going to these programs. It's waste and fraud. And people keep asking the question, okay, the money's going there, but is it actually going to these programs or is it going someplace else? And Elon continually talks about money laundering. Trump continually talks about kickbacks. And at this point, Trump, he put out a very interesting post on Truth telling Elon not to use a hatchet anymore, but use a scalpel. Just like a surgeon would use a scalpel and go in there and actually find and remove what he needs. So is he telling Elon it is now time to expose where the money goes? Not just to expose waste and fraud on a grand scale, but actually follow the money and follow it and tell everyone where the money actually is going. I do believe that's where we're at right now. And you can see the deep state players, they have many different parts to their criminal syndicate. We come to find out that the deep state players, they were using Popup NGOs to launder money. So they would just create these shell companies. They just pop them up. The money would flow through them. They'd just be created. So the companies would just be created and the money would just flow to them. No employees, nothing. So I do believe with this information, the autists, they're going to have a very easy time in tracking all this down because remember, we have Data Republican now looking at these different shell companies and NGOs, and she has certain queries where you can find out, wait a minute, why did the money go to this company? There's no employees. It was just created the other day, and this makes no sense whatsoever. So I do believe Trump right now is telling Elon, okay, we're not going to be cutting all these jobs. We're not going to be doing what we've been doing. We actually really hit the deep state players where we wanted to hit them. We're actually removing a lot of these individuals. And now it's time to move to the next step. And I do believe that next step is to actually go deep into the system and find out where this money has been going. And you can see that as of right now, we have Rand Paul and Elon and many others where they're looking to actually rescind the money. So Congress voted to spend the money, and it looks like they're now looking to have Congress vote on rescinding the money where they can take the money back. Because you have to remember, there was a ruling that says, oh, that money that was allocated for a certain aid, that can be distributed and sent off. So this would allow Congress to take the money back. Now, is this a permanent fix? No, it's a Band-Aid fix. Is it a good fix? Of course. We get the money back. But I do believe we need to go a little bit further than this. We need to go and reverse the Empowerment Act of 1974, which I do believe that will be done in the end. But you can see that Trump now, he has control over the entire system right now. And the D's, they're having a very, very difficult time. If you really think about it, who is left in the D party? If you really look at them, they're all morons. And I think during Trump's congressional speech and with the ridiculous videos that they're putting out now, they put out a dance video to say, choose your fighter. You could see that's all that is left are these puppets who are morons and someone else is pulling the string and they really don't have the ability to do anything anymore. They are now struggling, which means it's going to be very, very easy to beat them in the midterms. And actually, Trump confirmed this, saying because of what they did during his congressional speech, we can take every single seat, which I do believe that is exactly what is going to happen. So let's see how this plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting as we move forward. And we'll be talking a lot more about the Popup NGOs and how Elon's going to be taking a scalpel and going deep into the system. And we'll be talking about that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about Hunter Biden, Because as of right now, and Julie Kelly put this out, Hunter Biden is going to dismiss his lawsuit against Marco Polo for publishing contents of his laptop. Sean Davis responded to this and said, Hunter was making millions, inking deals and selling paintings left and right when his dad was president and vice president, but now he's broke. I wonder what changed. So what did change? Oh, he doesn't have access anymore. And we could see that those days are over. Remember when Hillary Clinton didn't win the presidential election? What happened to the money that was sent to her foundation? It all dried up. I think that tells you everything you need to know. Now, the other thing that we could see is the fake news. They're doing what they do best. They're putting out fake news. And we could see that the fake news is trying to convince everyone that Trump is going to revoke legal status for 240,000 Ukrainians as U.S. is now deporting a lot of people. Well, Carolyn Levitt came out and said, this is more fake news from Reuters based on anonymous sources who I have no idea what they're talking about. The truth, no decision has been made at this time. So they're just putting this stuff out there to convince people that something's happening when it really isn't. And the fake news is just doing what they do best. Is anyone really believing them? Absolutely not. Now, the other thing that's very interesting, yesterday, Congress had all the different mayors from the different blue cities, and they were being questioned about their sanctuary status and how they put the illegals first. And I think the people they realize now, yeah, it's illegals first and the American citizens way, 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 way last. All the money goes to illegals, no money goes to Americans. And what's very interesting is that the mayor of Denver, he was being questioned about, what do they do with the illegals from gangs and stuff? Do you keep them in prison and wait for ICE to show up? And they don't. They release the individual out onto the street, and then they have the agents chase the person down, which is absolutely ridiculous. Bill Malugin put this out and said, the city of Denver has released video showing ICE chasing down and arresting a suspected Tren de Agua gang member who had just been released from jail after Denver refused to hand him over to ICE inside the safety of facility due to sanctuary policy. Instead, he was street released and fled upon seeing ICE agents. ICE says he assaulted an agent while he's been taken into custody. So instead of just having two agents go into the jail cell and taking the person out, ICE needs about 5-6 agents to actually chase this person down. And then they get into a fight. And why in the world would this happen? This is kind of ridiculous if you really think about it. But you can see why the deep state players do this. You see why the blue cities do this, because they are trying to make it very, very difficult for ICE to actually get these individuals. And Representative Anna Paulina Luna, she listened to the testimony of all the different mayors, and she came to the conclusion, and I think everyone has come to the conclusion, that they have broken the law. And they have, because they're assisting illegals. And they broke federal law. It doesn't matter if you're a mayor, governor, president. The laws are on the books. So if you decide to aid and abet, you have broken the law. And this is what she says. I just referred the sanctuary city mayors to the Department of Justice for criminal investigation based on evidence from their own comments and policies proving that they were breaking federal law. Open border ideologies hurt people on both sides. If you hold federal office and are breaking the law, you'll be criminally investigated by the DOJ. And she's absolutely right. And this is why AOC is so panicked, because she knows she broke the law. And actually, when she was questioning Tom Homan in Congress, Tom Homan said, listen, they're illegal. They broke the federal law. Period. The end. That's it. Anyone that aids or abets, you're assisting and you broke the law. And this is why she panicked, and this is why she wrote the letter to Pam Bondi. Let's see what Tom Homan, let's see what Pam Bondi, let's see what they all do. This is very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we could see is that Trump, he's continually bringing the military to the border. And once again, this is an invasion. And Pete Hegseth, he is driving it all. And this is what he put out at the border today with two great Americans, J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard. Border security equals national security. The difference under this POTUS is night and day. Thanks for having us, Mr. VP. So that reminds me of two posts. This is post 1009, April 4th, 2018. It says, troops to border. Clown black ops. Private funds raised how? Troop at border does what? Impact to who? D's involved. MS-13 illegals, roadblock. Sex traffic, roadblock. Children, roadblock. Drugs, roadblock. Guns, roadblock. China-Russia pass-through intel pull, roadblock. Name we don't say, AZ, roadblock. Jeff Flake, AZ, roadblock. Big money terminate. The wall means more than you know. The fight for the wall is for so much more. So basically, they have shut the D's down. They have shut foreign countries down by securing the border. And let's go to Post 2502. This is November 25th, 2018. The top line says, border security equals national security. Down below says, what vested authority does the Constitution grant a sitting president? RE matters of national security? Thank you, Mr. Soros. Because again, it's an invasion. If it's an invasion, Trump can release the troops. And that's exactly what he has done. And who orchestrated all this? It was Soros. So that tells you everything you need to know. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that Elon and his team at Doge, they terminated the lease at Obama Presidential Library site. So the Department of Government Efficiency has terminated the lease at the Obama Presidential Library site. Although it is unlikely to impact operations there since it is due to shutter later this year and move to a new location, the library is located in Hoffman Estates in the northwest Chicago and is separate to the sprawling 19.3 acre Obama Presidential Center near Jackson Park, which is under construction and is expected to be completed next year. The site at Hoffman Estates is run by the National Archives and Records Administration, as are all presidential libraries, while the Obama Presidential Center is a private venture being overseen by the Obama Foundation. Doge this week updated its list of nearly 750 federal lease terminations, totaling around 9.6 million square feet in size, which includes the Hoffman Estates site. The agency, which has been tasked by President Trump to cut wasteful federal spending, said the terminations will save the taxpayers $468 million in lease savings. Well, this reminds me of Post 341, December 13th, 2017. Documents from the Obama administration have been transferred to the Barack Obama Presidential Library. You may send your request to the Obama Library. However, you should be aware that under the Presidential Records Act, presidential records remain closed to the public for 5 years after an administration has left office. Rated by the good guys per POTUS. Shockingly quiet. No leaks. Presidential libraries are put into place to retain control over self-incriminating CDOC releases. Scam? Review the law. What is different? Hussein's PL? Who controls? These people are really stupid. So right there, I do believe that Trump has had Obama's information for quite a while. And I do believe that this information is going to be coming out in the near future, because I do believe the previews, everything that we've been witnessing and getting people prepared for what is coming, that time is over. It is time for Showtime. And I do believe this is why he let Elon know it's time to show the people where this money has been going. And soon what you're going to see is all those people screaming and yelling, trying to stop Doge, trying to stop Trump. These are the people that have been accepting all of this money. And this is not where the money is only going. It's going to many, many other places. And the other thing that's really interesting, and it looks like John Podesta's name is now coming into focus, and we know there's a lot of posts about John Podesta, about him being indicted on a certain date. And it looks like he is now being implicated in actually laundering money. So the Biden administration funneled at least $20 billion into environmental groups, most of which had only recently been founded. In one case, former Vice President Kamala Harris handed over a check for nearly $7 billion to Bethesda, Maryland-based Group Climate United Fund, which does not appear in the IRS charities database and has no federal filings. The nonprofit fund had only been incorporated in Delaware on November 30th, 2023, according to public records, 5 months before Harris handed over the cash in April of 2024. The company is so new there's no publicly published accounting of how it plans to spend the $7 billion. What was the purpose of creating middlemen entities when there are so many established groups in the climate space with good track records. What was the value added in by doing it this way, especially with such large sums of taxpayer funds? The cash for the charity came from a huge $370 billion climate slush fund of taxpayer money overseen by John Podesta, a political consultant who was chair of Hillary Clinton's failed 2016 bid for president. So he was handling this. They set up a shell company, which is a pop-up, and they laundered the money through this system, which is very, very interesting. We'll be getting to that in just a sec. But during Trump's congressional speech, he was talking about all the money that was being spent on waste and fraud. And it looks like CNN, they tried to say that, oh no, he wasn't right, that $8 million that was used for making mice transgender was completely and utterly false. And it turns out, no, he was right. Libs of TikTok put this out and said, CNN just quietly edited the fact check article that they reported that Trump's statement on spending $8 million for making mice transgender was false. It sounds so crazy that they thought Trump made it up. It's 100% true. And now even CNN is forced to admit it. Absolutely unbelievable. And like we said just before, the deep state players, they use something called Popup nonprofit shell. Popup NGOs. Elizabeth McDonald explains, this is disturbing. Biden and Obama Democrats created a new beast, the Popup nonprofit shell. They suddenly launch to take in your taxpayer money, supposedly for things like climate change and illegal immigration. Major front for taxpayer abuse with accusations of grift growing by the hour. Never saw it like this in decades, covering IRS taxes. Check out the tax returns for one of these Popup NGO shells, the Climate United Fund, which got the biggest nonprofit grant in history out of Biden's massive climate slush funds. Kamala Harris and Biden's EPA chief Michael Reagan have $7 billion total to the suddenly created Climate United Fund in April 2024 after it launched just 5 months earlier in November 30th, 2022, when its tax returns show it started with a tiny $547,000 in revenue. But it spent a massive $451,000 of that $547,000 in just 2 months in 2023. A quarter of that on legal fees, and the majority, $323,000, mysteriously blown on no one knows what because its tax returns don't say. It has no stipulated plans for how it will spend your $7 billion in tax dollars. Just ephemeral solar projects in Idaho, Arkansas, Oregon that amount to only $50 million total, a fraction of the $7 billion. It also gave money out of that $7 billion to power forward communities linked to Stacey Abrams. It has little to no details on how its officers get paid that you typically see on NGOs, 990s. In fact, virtually no details, red flags that it's a shell. It supposedly is a partnership between Dem insiders at investment firm Calvert Impact Capital, Community Preservation Corp., and a group called Self Help. Beth Bafford is its CEO, a former special assistant in Obama's OMB, and a regional field director for the Obama campaign. So that is very, very interesting. So let's see, a portion of this money is going to what they say. Where is the rest going? Jeff Carlson responds to this and said, this Popup NGL shell company story is only going to get bigger. It may end up becoming the story. Looks like this may have been one of the primary vehicles to take advantage of the giant taxpayer-funded slush funds created by Biden or whoever was running them. This is more than grant laundering. This is a program laundering, and it looks like Obama's fingerprints are all over it. Hopefully Musk and Doge are looking into this Pam Bondi as well. So I do believe we're going to see a lot more of this. And think about this. They use these pop-up shell companies and they launder the money through them. And I wonder if that's why Trump is telling Elon now, okay, we exposed the waste and fraud. We took a hatchet to all this. Let's start using a scalpel and let's go in there to see where all of this really goes. We'll be talking about that in just a sec. But what's very interesting is that Rand Paul, he made a recommendation to Elon, and he's talking about rescinding the money. Nick Sorter put this out and said, Elon Musk is considering a plan proposed by Rand Paul to rescind a possible $500 billion in federal funds already approved by Congress. This could be a game changer. The maneuver, called a rescission, only requires 51 Senate votes, which Elon was reportedly elated to hear. Senator Paul, Hawley, Schmidt, and even Graham have already signaled their support. Let's do this. So how does this work? Well, when Congress rescinds payment, it means they are canceling or withdrawing funds that were previously authorized or appropriated for a specific purpose. In U.S. budgetary terms, this is known as rescission. A rescission is a legislative action by Congress to cancel budget authority, the legal ability to spend money, that was already approved in an appropriations bill. It effectively means the government can no longer spend the money and the payment or funding is nullified. Under the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act of 1974, the president can propose a rescission by sending a special message to Congress, specifying the funds to be canceled. Congress then has 45 days of continuous session to act on it, either by passing a rescission bill with a simple majority in both chambers or letting it lapse, in which case the funds must be spent as originally intended. Congress can also initiate rescissions on its own through appropriations legislation. So it looks like this is a good way to start getting all this money back, and all these judges, these blue judges, they're going to be left out in the cold because Congress is going to be recalling this money, and there's nothing they can do to stop this. And remember, the Republicans, they have the majority. I don't know if you know this, but the world's changing fast. If you're not paying attention, you're already behind. That's why I start my day with Rumble 1775 coffee, because weak coffee is for weak minds. If you're still drinking some corporate ESG-approved sludge, it's time to wake up. Dark roast hits harder than the truths they don't want you to know. Medium roast, smooth, no bitterness, like before they wreck the economy. Vital mushroom blend fuels your mind like you just put the final piece of the puzzle together. This isn't coffee for the sheep. It's small farms, small batches, roasted fresh in Miami, because your coffee should be fresher than the narratives they push every day. Whole bean, ground pods, they've got it. Go to 1775coffee.com, use code X22 for 15% off, and start your morning with coffee that keeps you sharp, aware, and always ahead. Oh, and every dollar you spend gets you closer to winning a Cybertruck and $30,000 in cash. Fuel up, cash in, and start your morning with the coffee that stands for something. Go to 1775coffee.com, use code X22, or just click the link in the description. In Congress. Now, I do believe this is a great Band-Aid fix, and it's going to work right now, but I do believe we need to reverse the Impoundment Act of 1974 and give the control back to the president. And I do believe this is going to happen when all's said and done, because think about it. What is Trump's agenda here? He wants to show the people that the deep state players, they created the Impoundment Act of 1974. It bypasses the president. It allows the bureaucrats and all these different agencies, nobody elected them, isn't this what they always say? And they make decisions on where this money goes, which means they're making up ridiculous programs, which is a cover story, and they're laundering the money through these ridiculous programs, and they're creating Popup NGOs to pass the money through, which is shell companies. And once he shows the people this, the people then are going to say, whoa, wait a minute. Why are the bureaucrats, why do they have control? Nobody elected these people. Why does all these different agencies, why do they get to say where this money goes? No, these people are unelected. They should be taking the instructions from who? The president. Remember, the president is the only elected official that the entire country votes on. No other official. So the country says, no, we want you to take care of this business. We don't want Joe Schmo in this agency to decide where this money goes. We didn't elect that person. They carry out the president's orders. But think about what the deep state has done. During the creation of the Federal Reserve back in 1913 and moving forward all the way up to 1971 when we came off the gold standard, where the Federal Reserve was able to just create as much money as they wanted because the corrupt politicians were borrowing as much as they wanted. They didn't want anyone telling them where this money could be spent. So they created their system, and that is the bureaucrats. They're the swamp creatures. They created these people. They brought those people in that they wanted, and they instructed them, this is what you're going to do with the money. It bypassed the president, the elected person. And now we can see that this is all being exposed. But this is what Trump put out. The golden age of America has just begun. Over the past 6 weeks, our administration has delivered on promises like no administration before it. always putting American first. Doge has been an incredible success, and now that we have my cabinet in place, I have instructed the secretaries and leadership to work with Doge on cost-cutting measures and staffing. As the secretaries learn about it and understand the people work for the various departments, they can be very precise as to who will remain and who will go. So as of right now, since he has his cabinet in place and we have all these individuals, there's no reason for Doge to go into all these different organizations because Cash can handle it, Pam Bondi can handle it, and they can really look through everything and cut the expenses. And then he continues with, we say the scalpel rather than the hatchet. The combination of them, Elon, Doge, and other great people will be able to do things at historic levels. We just had a meeting with most of the secretaries, Elon and others, and it was a very positive one. It's very important that we cut levels down to where they should be. It's also important to keep the best and most productive people. We're going to have these meetings every 2 weeks until the aspect of this very necessary job is done. The relationships between everybody in the room are extraordinary. They all want to get to the exact same place, which is simply to make America great again. So the heads of the different agencies, they'll be handling slimming down their agencies, removing the bad eggs, draining the swamp. And Elon now is going to take his scalpel and he's going to go deep into the system with his autists, and they're going to follow the money, and they're going to show the people where the money actually goes. This is going to be very, very interesting. And since we're talking about Musk, remember those 3 astronauts that were left in space? And Musk said, listen, I will go get them. I will rescue them. Well, Biden, he pretty much said, no way, you're not doing this. And the astronauts actually confirmed this. Colin Rugg put this out and said, astronauts say Elon Musk is absolutely factual. After the Washington Post reporter asked him about how Musk said his rescue efforts were denied for political reasons. Musk was condemned by the media for making the comment, but appears the astronauts agree. The reporter said Elon Musk has said that he made the offer to bring you guys back earlier and that it was denied. My first question is that true? Barry Wilmore, I can only say that Mr. Musk, what he says is absolutely factual. The astronauts were only supposed to be in space for 8 days. They've been there for 9 months. Musk had offered to retrieve them on his SpaceX capsule after the Boeing one started having problems. He was denied by the Biden administration. During his recent episode with Joe Rogan, Musk said the Biden admin denied his request for political reasons because they didn't want to hurt Kamala's campaign. So they left those people up there. Absolutely unbelievable. But you can see the swamp creatures, they are definitely pushing back. The deep state players are pushing back. And you can see what they really want is war. Now, Trump, he is fighting against all of these people. And he wants peace. The people want peace. But you know the deep state players, they would rather have a war. And Trump now is warning Hamas that they better give every single hostage back or else. And this is what he put out on Truth. Shalom Hamas means hello and goodbye. You can choose. Release all of the hostages now, not later, and immediately return all the dead bodies of the people you murdered, or it is over for you. Only sick and twisted people keep bodies, and you are sick and twisted. I am sending Israel everything it needs to finish the job. Not a single Hamas member will be safe if you don't do as I say. I have just met with your former hostages, whose lives you have destroyed. This is your last warning for the leadership. Now is the time to leave Gaza while you still have a chance. Also to the people of Gaza, a future awaits, but not if you hold hostages. If you do, you are dead. Make a smart decision. Release the hostages now, or they'll be hell to pay later. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. So he's given them a warning. Israel has the ammunition that it needs. And let's see what the deep state players do. Let's see what move they actually make. This is going to be very, very interesting. And what's very interesting, since Trump put that out there, just like Gizmo points out something very, very interesting, points to U.S. Northern Command. It says, Lima, Charlie, loud and clear. U.S. Army soldier conducts a radio check before a night driving training in preparation for a southern border security deployment. Just like Gizmo says, U.S. Northern Command posted this 1 minute after Trump's message, green light. So this is very, very interesting. Let's see how this plays out. Now, the other thing that we could see is that it's not going too well for Zelensky. He's flip-flopping back and forth. And I do believe this is showing the entire country that Zelensky was never, ever serious about anything. And he is controlled by the deep state players. And you can see the deep state players, what do they want in the end? They want more. What is Zelensky? What's his mission? To get Ukraine into NATO. And as of right now, an election wizard put this out, Ukraine is going to run out of U.S. weapons by summer. So it gives Ukraine now until summer because, by the way, France, UK, and many other countries, they don't really have weapons to give Ukraine. And whatever they do give, it's not going to help them whatsoever. But you could see the European leaders, again, they are split, but a lot of them, what do they want? They want more. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, Europe must enter into an arms race with Russia and win it. We're going back to Reagan time when we were in an arms race? That's very interesting. The European leaders, they're putting out messages that they want to go to war. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen says, peace in Ukraine is more dangerous than ongoing war. She won't end the war because Putin might attack someone else in the future. Under that logic, there is no end to the war. Data Republican responded to what she said and says, I'll translate what Danish Prime Minister said. Ukraine must keep fighting a war it cannot win because its real purpose is to keep Russia occupied. A ceasefire isn't an option, not for Ukraine, but for the EU. Why? Because if Russia weren't tied up in Ukraine, the EU would have to take responsibility for its own defenses. Let's be clear, the EU isn't supporting Ukraine. It's fueling a war of attrition, letting Ukraine bleed out to buy itself time. That's not aid. That's complicity in genocide, and it's repulsive. Shame on the EU. Plus, they're keeping this going because you have to remember Ukraine is the layer of the deep state players. This is where the money laundering is. This is where the biolabs are. This is where the Nazis are. This is where everything that they have is in Ukraine. They set it all up. And if Ukraine has peace, all of this is going to be brought out into the open. And Macron right now, he's trying to position France as the replacement head of NATO in support of Ukraine. Do you really think this is going to work? Absolutely not. But like we said before, we're probably going to see quite a bit of different false flags. And we can see that we're already starting to see one of them because Zelensky came out and said, hey, the hotel that was struck by Russia, it had who in there? Oh, U.S. citizens. They were among those who had checked into the hotel. And the strike came a day after the Trump administration paused sharing intelligence with Ukraine as it applies pressure on Kiev. So Zelensky, he posted a video with a statement showing Ukrainian emergency workers helping the injured in this area. So what do you think they're doing right now? They're trying to show the American people, look, there were Americans here and Russia hit the Americans. Are they trying to drag America into a war? Absolutely. That is their entire mission right now. And I think Trump and the Patriots know this. And I do believe that this is all going to come back to the sum of all fears. Because, again, you can see EU, the deep state players, they don't want to let this go. They rather have war than lose Ukraine, which means they're going to push a false flag. And that's what we're seeing right now. We already see that Zelensky's out there letting everyone know that, hey, look, see, there are Americans in the hotel. You'll see another false flag and another one until they have to come up with something much, much larger. But Trump and the Patriots, I do believe they know this playbook, and I do believe they're tackling this a little different than Zelensky wants. Amuse put this out and said, Trump's team has met with key Ukrainian opposition leaders to discuss holding emergency elections to replace Zelensky. Regime change may be the only path to peace, avoiding a global war. Well, how is it going to be regime change? Is it going to be that, oh, wait, we're going to have an uprising and we're going to throw Zelensky out? Or is Trump and team going to say, listen, We need an election. Why don't the people decide? The people of Ukraine, go ahead. Have the election. Use paper ballots. One-day voting. Let's see who the people choose. And you know what's going to happen? Zelensky's going to be out. Elon responded to this and said, Ukraine needs to hold an election. Zelensky would lose by a landslide, and he knows this. So I do believe Trump, he's using this strategy to push the people of Ukraine to have this election. And then what happens? When Zelensky's out, can the EU deal with the new person? Can Trump deal with the new person? Is this person controlled? No. Everything falls apart for the deep state players. Now, the other thing that happened, which is very, very interesting, is that a South Korean fighter jet accidentally dropped bombs and they injured about 8 people near North Korea. Now, this is very, very interesting. So the pilot of one of the KF-16s put in a wrong coordinate for a bombing site. Does this make any sense? This is very, very interesting. So it was near North Korea, and let's see how North Korea responds, because I do believe that the deep state players, they're trying to push a certain agenda, and that agenda is war. And that reminds me of Post 864, March 6, 2018. Very interesting delta. It says, North Korea is willing to discuss giving up nuclear weapons, South says. Down below it says, wait and see. Reread drops. You have more than you know. Eyes in the sky. Some of all fears. So I do believe the deep state players, they're definitely planning on something. Do I think it's going to work? No. I think Trump and the Patriots, they know exactly what they're planning. And I do believe they have countermeasures in place. It doesn't mean that something might not happen. Of course, the deep state players, they can make something happen. And we could see already, they're already pushing this. And I do believe this is something that we have to look out for. Remember, yes, we got Trump over the hurdle. We got him to win the election. The cheating system, we overrode it. Now, the swamp creatures, they're going to be fighting for their lives every step of the way. I mean, think about what Trump and the Patriots are doing right now. So when all else fails, what do you think the deep state players are going to do? They're going to fight back with everything that they have. The only things that they have are war and a cyber attack. Yeah, they could try a pandemic, but I don't think that's really going to actually work. So those are still the only things that I can see that's going to be effective if they're going to try to do something. And this is what we need to watch out for. Now, I'm not saying we're going to end up in war or we're going to have a massive cyber attack. They might attempt it, but I don't think it's going to work the way they think it's going to work. They are not in control anymore. Now, we could see that Trump now, he is shutting down the departments that he said he was going to shut down. And remember, a lot of these departments were created once we went full fiat, which is very, very interesting. And that was in 1971. Because you have to remember, the deep state players, what do they like? They like everything centralized. When you have everything centralized, you can control everything. Centralize the police force, centralize education, centralize medicine, centralize everything, the creation of currency. You control it all. Trump is in the process of decentralizing everything. And one of those things is the Department of Education. The Founding Fathers never wanted a centralized system. They wanted a decentralized system. And now that Trump has his individual in place in the Department of Education, well, now they can basically unwind the whole entire thing. Charlie Kirk put this out and said, Trump has drafted an executive order to officially eliminate the Department of Education per the Wall Street Journal, directing Secretary Linda McMahon to take all necessary steps to facilitate its closure. So this is not the only agency we're going to see close. Some of them might be restructured into other agencies, but Trump now is removing it all. And he's letting the mayor of D.C. know it's time to clean everything up. It's time to go after the criminals. It's time to stop all these ridiculous policies that the blue cities have been pushing. And if she can't do it, well, then the Patriots will. Trump, he put this out and said, we have notified the mayor of Washington, D.C., that she must clean up all the unsightly homeless encampments in the city, specifically including the ones outside the State Department and near the White House. If she is not capable of doing so, we will be forced to do it for her. Washington, D.C. must become clean and safe. We want to be proud of our great capital again. Thank you, Mayor Bowser, for the efforts on behalf of the citizens of our country. Hopefully, you'll be successful. She needs to clamp down on crime. She needs to enforce the law. And let's see if she does it. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we know is that the D's, they have proven to we, the people, that they are going to cease to exist. And how do we know this? Because look what's left over in the D party. It's all the losers. And every day that passes, the people see the losers for who they truly are. And they just put out a video of them dancing, saying, choose your fighter. It is absolutely ridiculous. And this is actually pushing people away. It's not pushing people towards them. And during the congressional speech, Al Green, he was disrupting Trump over and over and over. He was ejected from the Congress speech. And now the House of Representatives, they voted to censure Representative Al Green for his stupid stunt during Trump's joint address to Congress. And the vote was 224 to 198, and 10 Democrats surprisingly voted to censure as well. That's very interesting. But Trump confirms that the D's are done. And everything that we saw during the congressional speech, that was for the midterms. He showed the country that these people hate America. These people are against America. These people are against everything that we believe. This is what he put out on Truth. The Democrats should lose the midterms based on their behavior at last night's joint address to Congress. All Republicans must use their behavior on men in women's sports. Their very dangerous open border policies, high energy and taxes, and much else. Also, Republicans should utilize the footage provided on the total disrespect they showed to all those that were honored that night, including young ladies who were killed by illegal migrants, people with terminal cancer, etc. They didn't even have the common courtesy to stand, smile, or applaud. This could be on an analyzing the full tape of this historic event, your full campaign to victory. In other words, Republicans can take what happened last night and win any race in the country. Good luck. And that is absolutely true. They are now doomed. And what's very interesting, Trump, he put this out at 1827, and that's August 9, 2018. And down below it says the following. Comfy, previews are over. It's showtime. And I do believe since he has his cabinet heads in place, Doge exposed USID, weakened the deep state players. And now Elon is taking a scalpel and going deep, deep, deep into USAID and many, many other agencies. It is now time to expose the deep state players. And you can see the deep state players, they're losing at every turn. Julie Kelly put this out and said, Hampton Dellinger and the all-Biden-appointed Merit System Protection Board just reinstated nearly 6,000 USDA probationary employees fired by the president. How many will not be on probationary status by the time this is resolved? As I warned when this started, it was always apparent Dellinger and the Biden appointees on the MSPB would work together to frustrate the president's agenda. Really brazen stuff here. And then all of a sudden, the D.C. Appellate Court puts a hold on Judge Amy Berman Jackson's order reinstating Hampton Dellinger as special counsel. He's out for now as appeals advances on expedited basis at D.C. Circuit Court. Well, following the ruling from the D.C. Circuit Court, Dellinger said he is ending his legal fight with Trump. Why? Because he knows when this goes up to the Supreme Court, he will lose. Which means all those people that are going to be reinstated, they're going to lose. And at this point in time, Trump has the ability to fire these individuals. And when it does go up to the Supreme Court, they already know they're going to lose. Because again, Trump controls all these executive branches. He's the boss. The boss can fire these people. And that's exactly what is happening right now. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that the Attorney General, Andrew Bailey, he is now demanding the DOJ investigate whether Biden's cognitive decline allowed unelected staff to push through radical policy without his knowing approval. If true, these executive orders, pardons, and all other actions are unconstitutional and legally void. You mean because of fraud? Because really, that's what it would be. Because once again, if he wasn't able to sign all of these things, if he wasn't able to understand what was going on and someone else did it for him and signed his name, this is fraud. And fraud vitiates everything. Now, that is very interesting. So the Oversight Project put this out. Whoever controlled the auto pen controlled the presidency. We gathered every document we could find with Biden's signature over the course of his presidency. All used the same auto pen signature except for the announcement that the former president was dropping out of the race last year. Here is the auto pen signature. So that is very interesting. So the signatures are very, very different. So once again, who was actually signing all of this? Was it really Biden or was it someone else? And which signature is real? Which one is fake? And did he know what he was signing? Let's see how this all plays out. Because I do believe once Trump and the Patriots, once they show that all of this is fraud, everything that we've been witnessing is fraud, fraud vitiates everything that they have done in the past. And I do believe Trump and the Patriots, I think this is going to be proved as we move forward. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is that Dan Scavino, he let us know that 2 years ago today, or yesterday, Trump decided to run for president. And Scavino, he put this out, he says he's going to do it again, which is very, very interesting. Because he knew he was going to go up against the deep state players. He knew that he was going to be attacked, but he knew that he needed the people behind him. He needed the military, which he already had. And he set a course because he knew once the people overrode their cheating system, the people were behind him and he got the mandate, he would be able to do all of these things that we see happening right now. It doesn't mean the swamp's not going to fight back, but he has the power of the people. Because remember, back in 2016, do you think he'd be able to do all these things? Absolutely not. The people were not with him. Now he has the people with him. Now, with what the deep state is doing, what the Ds are doing, more people are coming to his side. Every day that he shows how corrupt they are, what crimes they have committed, more and more people wake up, more and more people see the truth. I mean, the truth is right in front of us. And Elon and Trump, they're going to present it to the people on a silver platter, which is going to unite the country against a common enemy. And this was the plan the entire time, to take it back, take this country back, and to keep the country. And that is what we're witnessing right now. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and as
Once upon a time, in a lush green forest filled with towering trees and babbling brooks, there lived a kind-hearted squirrel named Sam. Sam was known throughout the forest for his generosity and willingness to help others. He spent his days gathering acorns, but he always made time to check on his friends and neighbors. One sunny morning, as Sam was scurrying through the forest, he heard a faint chirping sound coming from a nearby bush. Curious, he hopped over and found a small bird with an injured wing lying on the ground. The bird's feathers were ruffled, and it looked up at Sam with pleading eyes. "Oh no," Sam exclaimed. "What happened to you, little one?" The bird winced and replied weakly, "I was flying too close to the ground and I crashed into a thorny bush. My wing is hurt and I can't fly." Sam's heart ached for the bird. Without hesitation, he said, "Don't worry, I'll help you. Let's get you somewhere safe." Carefully, Sam used his tiny paws to lift the bird onto his back. He carried the bird to his cozy tree hollow where he laid out a soft bed of leaves. Sam then fetched some water in a leaf cup and brought a few berries for the bird to eat. Over the next few days, Sam tended to the bird's wing, gently wrapping it with a piece of soft moss. He stayed by the bird's side, keeping it company and telling stories to lift its spirits. The bird, whose name was Pip, was grateful for Sam's kindness. "Why are you helping me?" Pip asked one day. "You don't even know me." Sam smiled and said, "Because helping others is what makes the forest a better place. We're all connected, and when one of us is in need, it's our duty to lend a paw, or a wing." As the days passed, Pip's wing began to heal. With Sam's encouragement, Pip practiced flapping its wings and soon regained its strength. One morning, Pip fluttered out of the tree hollow and soared into the sky, circling above Sam with joy. "Thank you, Sam," Pip chirped. "I'll never forget your kindness. If you ever need help, I'll be there for you." Sam waved his paw and smiled. "I'm just glad you're okay. Take care, Pip." From that day on, Pip and Sam became the best of friends. Pip often visited Sam, bringing seeds and berries from faraway places as a token of gratitude. And whenever Sam needed help gathering acorns or finding his way through the forest, Pip was always there to guide him. Moral of the story: kindness and compassion create strong bonds and make the world a better place. Helping others, even strangers, not only brings joy to their lives, but also enriches our own. Just like Sam and Pip, we can build lasting friendships and a supportive community by caring for one another.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe History Arc for more informative videos.